thing. In my modern history place, one of the women who was in my course, sorry about that. My sister and a boyfriend.
What are they up to?
Could you turn it down a bit? Watching a movie.
Let me just give a quick intro. So I'm here with Alexander. He is a university student from Australia, and we are chatting. This is our first chat, and he just hit me up on Twitter, and we're going to talk about the situation in Australia, among other things. So anyway, continue.
Well, with that, she's half German, I think she said, and her brother's German Torres Strait Islander, and they were taken in the time of the Stolen Generation. So for anyone who doesn't know, there was a big thing where we would take Aboriginal children and put them into like sort of school sort of things and try to breed the blackness out of them. Going on genocide, I know, and like with this sort of thing, I'm not apologizing because it had nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was me, then I would apologize.
Do you think the situation with Aboriginals in Australia is even more awkward and with more tension than the black situation in America?
Yes and no, because the sort of thing is like at first they had like it was sort of like a war thing to begin with, because when Cook and all them landed in Australia, the Aboriginals did attack us, but in Western Australia they already had a whole thing with the Dutch landing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dutch didn't take Western Australia because like there's nothing there. It's mainly desert, even on the coastal region. Hey! Yeah, so it's mostly desert, even around the coast.
Right.
So there wasn't a whole bunch.
But I mean, maybe the black situation is not the correct analogy. It's the Native Americans in America and the sort of unresolved nature of this historical event.
Yeah, we're not so much like that because we have come out with Kevin Rudd in 2007 when he was elected. He did on behalf of the Australian government, "We are sorry."
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing, and an
official apology.
Yes, it was televised throughout the entire Commonwealth.
Mm-hmm.
Every nation from Canada to India, I mean, like going the opposite way, every nation in the Commonwealth saw it.
But do you think that's official? Is that just a symbolic gesture, or do you think? I mean, it sounds like a gimmick to me.
Yeah, it was one of those things that were going around because Prime Minister John Howard, he was one of our longest running prime ministers. I think he was there for, I think he was elected about 3 times, so that's about 12 years as prime minister. He sort of said, yeah, they're people I don't think we need to like say, oh, we're sorry about. Like, to a certain extent, I like the Australian government shouldn't, but like when it came to like the Stolen Generation, where it was government policy to come and take them from their homes, and it was run by the government, I do kind of have to agree with that, and it should have happened a long time ago.
You know, this reminds me, when I was visiting Senegal, I went to this little island off the coast where they would prepare all the slaves from West Africa to be shipped out to America. And recently, in the past like 10 years, the Pope, there's a plaque on this island now, and it's the Pope saying, "I'm sorry." It's an official apology from Vatican City saying, "We're sorry for the Catholic Church and our role in the slave trade." And it's just the most useless thing. It's like, thanks for, there's millions of destroyed lives, but there's been an apology issued. It's like when they go ahead.
I was going to say, like, the difference between with Vatican City and Britain with the whole slave trade, Britain actually made it illegal and sent ships down to stop pirates bringing people to the Americas. It wasn't always successful, but at least they were doing something. They were trying to actively stop it.
Yeah, I mean they beat us to the punch in terms of abolishing slavery, and by a long shot.
Hmm.
But it's just funny. It's
Yeah,
like
they.
it's like the Vatican apologizing to Galileo 600 years later. It's like I don't think Galileo's too
Oh,
thrilled about it.
officially, the Catholic Church hasn't even said that he is right. I don't think
Of
they've
course not.
apologized, but
Yeah, we're
yeah,
still the
no,
center of the
and
universe. Yeah.
I was Catholic. I'm Catholic by birth and
Hmm.
christening and all that.
Damn.
And
Sorry to hear it.
yeah, uh, um, one of the things that I see with a lot of people who view atheists, like they seem to think that we just don't like religious people, and like I don't agree with that, and like they think we want to destroy all the religious stuff.
Hmm.
Like I'm planning to go to France in 2017 because like most people in the world fought in the First World War, doing sort of a pilgrimage at all the battle sites my family fought at.
Whoa.
One of the things I want to do is see all the ancient French churches and cathedrals and that.
Now let me ask you: are you a gamer?
Yes.
And have you played games of
Yeah.
like World War II, World War One?
Yes.
Yeah, because they've recreated France digitally, and there's some pretty
Okay.
kick-ass World War II games. Call of Duty. I think there's, but I mean, it's interesting. You have a morbid fascination with going to the sites of World War One?
Um, it's sort of because, like I said, my family fought there.
Yeah.
My two of my great grandparents, one came back with his leg blown off,
Hmm,
and he actually started up a business when he got back, making boats.
really? Well,
Yeah, out of wood.
I had a great uncle who fought and died in World War One, Jeffrey Tracy. I mean, I guess if you come from the Great Britain region, there's no way you couldn't have been involved in that war unless you were a complete coward. Or your
Oh
family's
yeah,
history.
no, what
Yeah.
yeah, like not like one of the things that happened here in Australia was we'd pass out white feathers to those who didn't sign up.
Mhm.
But it's funny because I was watching, the historian Tony Robertson.
No, sounds too generic for me to know.
Well, he's a Brit. He does TV shows. He was on Time Team. He's got his own show. Tony Robertson walking in the past. He was on Blackadder for all seasons.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, but basically, he came down here for Australia because it's the 100-year anniversary since Gallipoli. Um, and one of the things that he talked about, there was a man who returned home in 1915
Hmm.
on sick leave because he was blown up. He didn't die, but they
That's
gave him time. And
sounds like a serious medical condition. What can I help you with today?
yeah,
Oh, I'm
no,
blown up.
no, like I think a grenade or something exploded close to him. Like he
Right.
was sort of in the center, and it
Hmm.
exploded. I like somehow the shrapnel didn't touch him. Somehow I don't know, but he was awarded the Victoria Cross because he held his position, which is the highest honor you can get in the British Commonwealth of Nations.
He held his position because he was
It's like
paralyzed. He couldn't move.
no, actually, he stood back up and started fighting the Turks.
Oh, well, I like that. Anybody who's willing to fight a Turk.
Yeah.
By the way, can I ask
Well,
you what your icon is, real quick? What?
it's the Field Marshal Epaulettes. That's like the highest rank in the British and Commonwealth military.
Okay.
I go by the thing general knowledge,
Hmm.
so I'm sort of taking the mickey out of that.
I see. Okay. So
Uh,
continue.
uh, yeah, and when he returned home, because like they gave him time off in Australia because well he'd been blown up. He was walking around in regular clothes, and somebody in the town saw him that he didn't sign up and stuck a white feather of cowardice in there.
Mm.
And this was a man got the VC.
And did this have a serious impact? Like if you got a white feather, you were like, oh shit,
Oh,
you just got owned.
yeah, it was so bad in England and Australia that we actually came out with pins saying for king and country, and that was for people like working in the factories, making bombs, bullets, that sort of stuff, so that they wouldn't get white feathers, because either you would sign up or you would shoot yourself.
How
That's
many
how bad the white feather.
how many people in Australia were isolationists? Like to me, if I was living in Australia,
Oh,
to get dragged into world wars in Europe seems totally like, what are we doing?
No, because the thing was that the German in Papua New Guinea, it was divided between Holland, Britain, and Germany, and half of it belonged to the Germans. And we were fearful that because when Britain went to war, effectively Australia went to war, we were fearful that the Germans would invade through Papua New Guinea and attack Australia.
Right.
And we were the and in Britain's part in World War II, we were the owners of Papua New Guinea until I think the 70s. We owned it.
But you also have the Japanese breathing down your neck. I mean, they were the real threat.
Actually, no. In World War One, Japan was on our side. They provided naval support for the Triple Entente.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, they were on our side. World War One.
But World War II, they were a different story.
Oh yeah, no. One of the things like people like to say, "Oh, Britain screwed us over with the Japs. They wouldn't let us men return home," and it's just like it's a lot harder than that. There's a bit more because they were fighting the Germans. If the Brits let them go home straight from there, like they would have lost the fight because taking out a big chunky military.
It is amazing. Like it's not. It's very accurate to call these world wars especially when you think about the geographic coverage. You know, the fact that Australia and the islands north of Australia were really a hotbed of activity. You know.
Oh yeah, no.
Did you see that movie, the Band of Brothers, or I think?
Oh yeah, with the three with the Pacific. You mean? With,
yeah, the Pacific, that's the one. And they had the whole story about what happened at Guadalcanal.
Yeah,
and it's just like that's fascinating. I have no idea there were these like legendary battles like going on these random islands just to protect Australia.
In Papua New Guinea, there was actually the bloodiest, one of them, like the bloodiest and most important for the Pacific world against the Japanese. So America, Britain, they've all been forced back, being destroyed by the Japanese Imperial Army, utterly demolished, and all of our majority of our troops were over fighting in Pakistan. No, not Pakistan. Like Israel and Egypt, stopping the Germans and the French. So we sent militia up there. I think a company of militia to stop a battalion of Japanese Imperial soldiers. And we had to fight on the Kokoda Track. Terrible place. Just terrible. A company that should have been destroyed stood and stopped the Japanese, and that's when Australia, Britain, and America start pushing back up into Japan because of that battle.
Yeah, the tides were turned. Yeah, it was a beautiful thing, but I mean, the stories you hear from these events, you know,
it's horrible. They're beautiful and yet horrible.
I think we all have guilt about it because most people have not been in war, and we live in the wake of this great event, and yet we didn't do anything. We sacrificed nothing.
Particularly since Australia, we're a nation built on war. Our most important day in the whole entire year isn't Australia Day, where we were discovered by Cook. It is actually Anzac Day, which is the day that the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps and the British, we landed on Gallipoli and were hit hard by the Turks. Though we don't actually hold any animosity. And one of my favourite people is a Turk by the name of Mustafa Ataturk. He was the one who actually set up secular Turkey before it fell back into like sort of religious thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was the general that was defending Turkey against the invasion, and at the end of the war, he came and made a speech how the British and Anzac soldiers who fought and died there are not only sons of Australia, New Zealand, and Britain, but they're also Turkey's children, and that they're on friendly shore.
Now, wasn't there a recent terrorist plot in Australia on this day you're talking about, this holiday?
Yeah. ADFA said, no, not ADFA. The AFP, Australian Federal Police, they said that Muslim terrorists were going to hit multiple places, like commemoration events on Anzac Day, which would have hurt Turkey as well, because in Newcastle we actually had a Turkish group captain, which is pretty high in the Air Force. He's in charge of a number of pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Come and put a reef in honor of Turkey.
So it sounds like you are a student of history, but also somebody who's heavily interested in the military. Would you want to be in the military yourself?
Yeah, it's sort of like sort of for my own personal appeal, like, but also from a family thing, because both my great grandfather and my great great grandfather and my great grandfather served in World War One and Two. My father, like I said, he was in the reservists. Hasn't seen action, but he still did his duty. So my grandfather almost went to Korea.
So you're looking for a war. Maybe you and I should get on a plane, go to Vietnam, and get some sweet revenge on the Vietnamese, like Rambo style. But I mean, Australia. Go ahead.
No, you were going to say?
Australia doesn't. I mean, you guys are isolated and you're an island, so it's. I mean, you don't have any people breathing down your neck, because Bali's not going to invade.
Yeah, we're afraid of sort of Indonesia and Malaya because they've got million-man army, and like I'm not saying that the American and the rest of the world are good, but we are the world's go-to guy for problem solving. We've got one of the best armies on earth.
There's some patriotism for you.
Yeah, well,
how many people in your army?
Even like, we got about 75,000.
And wait, Malaysia has 1 million?
Yeah, they've got a million-man army.
What the fuck? Dude, I know about Malaysia, I was in Malaysia a year and a half ago on my way from Thailand to Sydney, and their airport is shit. I'm here to report that. We landed at the airport in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur, and I was just like, there was like chickens running around. It was just hot as hell. It was crowded. It was terrible. And that was coming from Korea and Japan, which have the two highest rated airports in the world. So it was a bit of a culture shock. But 1 million man, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, with that numbers, you could give us all the best weapons in the world, which we've actually got pretty good weapons, on par with like the M4 and the individual rifles of Britain and America. Maybe even like a little bit better mechanically. Mm-hmm. But they could literally walk up with pitchforks and take Australia.
Right. But it's one thing. See, as an Australian, you can be confident and be braggadocious when you talk about this because you know America's got your back. I mean, it's like you guys are like. No. What?
Actually, that's not necessarily true.
You're telling me Malaysia came and invaded Australia, we wouldn't fight them? Come on.
No, well, what happened? Let me sort of tell you. We had sort of our own Cold War in about the 80s and 90s with East Timor, where the Malaysians.
It's a small nation.
We invaded. Yeah, well, it was controlled by the Malaysians. Mm-hmm. We invaded, sent our infantry and artillery and tanks. We invaded, and we asked America, if shit gets real, will you send support? America said, here's 4 troops. That's all we'll ever give you. We turned to Britain.
4 troops.
4 guys. Yeah.
Oh,
who were already there.
Was it the A team? I mean, it depends
Nope.
on the. Okay. Okay.
Nope, just regular. Britain, they didn't supply us with troops because they were having their own problems down the Falklands with Argentina invading, and Falklands said, "Hey, could you give us some help?" And Britain's just like, "Sure,"
Well,
but they turned around and was like, "If you need troops, we will support you."
well, but I mean, you have to understand. In the '80s, we were tired of war from Vietnam and sort of
Oh yeah,
reluctant
no,
to jump back in. Right, but you had a Republican president here, who's a gun-toting, cowboy, Ronald Reagan. So he definitely would have come and supported. But I mean, you guys
mate,
are. I mean, I don't believe that you really think that the United States would not defend Australia. Not to mention all of
no,
our European allies. Go ahead.
oh yeah, yeah, I would definitely think there would be ulterior motives, like definitely, like big ones, because we've got the biggest dump of uranium in the world, like coming out of our soil.
Mm-hmm. So
We
you
are
think
like those.
you don't think it's because we have cultural ties and
Oh no,
an
definitely
alliance that
cultural.
goes? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, definitely a cultural alliance,
See,
like all that.
yeah, I'm talking about
Like,
public
I'm not
sentiment.
being.
Like, I mean, it's always weird when people talk about like
Yeah, no.
minerals and stuff. Like, the public doesn't see that money. Nobody got rich off of,
Oh yeah,
Halliburton executives got rich in the Middle East. The American people did not get rich. So
yeah, no, but no, I know what you're saying, and like I think there would be public outcry from America to support us and that definitely well, yeah,
but I
actually,
mean, the thing
yeah,
is,
they'll jump in.
you guys are very popular in the world. People know a lot about Australia, and but you only have 23 million people. You guys are a
Oh
nothing
yeah,
little country. There's as many people in
oh yeah.
Madagascar as there are in Australia. How much do you know about
London,
Madagascar? Yeah.
um, Disney like, oh no, I think Pixar likes
Yeah,
them.
right. Right. If you ask this generation something about Madagascar, they talk about a cartoon. And yet there's 23 million people in
Yeah.
Madagascar. Yeah, it's
Oh
just.
yeah, and like London is bigger than Australia.
How's that?
Fucking the city of London.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, they've got
In terms
about I
of
think 20
population?
million people. Yeah,
Well,
population.
it depends on how wide you determine London to be. But yeah, I mean the surrounding areas it keeps going. But that's one of
Yeah,
the problems.
Tokyo.
Yeah. But the thing is, Australia is not going to be invaded from the outside. If anything, it's going to be eroded from within by some of the radical elements within, the Muslims. I mean, right now it's in
And
its
for anyone,
infancy, but still.
and any of you people who happen to be watching and somehow going to think, no, we don't mean all radical, like all people like Muslim or whatever.
Exactly.
Obviously, we don't mean like there's quite a lot of people. Like I met someone who came from Indonesia who goes to university. Really nice bloke.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, nice bloke, but these are blokes that need to be criticized for a whole different set of reasons. It's like, oh yeah, he's a
Like
moderate member of a death cult. How happy am I supposed to be about that? He's just a moderate homophobe. He's a moderate misogynist. It's like, come on. They need to be criticized and explained that there is no God to start with. And then, but we can't even do that because we're worried about the radicals who are like literally killing people.
Oh yeah, no, I call a spade a spade.
Mm-hmm.
Like if
so you are outnumbered because you are in college, surrounded by a bunch of PCs.
No, actually, University of Newcastle isn't actually much like that.
Really?
There aren't. Well, from what I've met, probably are a lot of. Yeah, like I call a spade a spade. I was brought up not to like care. Like I care about people's feelings, but not to the point where it sort of gets ridiculous.
Yeah, but also, look, you're online. anonymous right now. So what's the point of lying? What's the point of not being honest? I mean, that's what I find astonishing. Like I'm put my name out when I talk, so I understand that that's a little bit different. But even people who are hiding behind a mask are willing to bullshit and be politically correct. Like I'm like, what is that? I don't even understand that. Be honest, man. It's just you and me. Now I want to ask you something.
No.
So I want to say a phrase that I've heard uttered in Australia recently and throughout time, and I want to get your reaction to it. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
To a point, ideally yes, but realistically no. Like we came here, we've been here for about 200 years. If they want to chuck us out, they can't.
But I love the fact that this idea that Aboriginals were one nation. It was some like functional.
Oh, they weren't.
Exactly. But
there were multiple tribes.
Yeah, but it's like saying no. It's sort of a racist. Maybe not racist, but just very ignorant to suggest that the Aboriginals were like this unified force.
It's like with the Native Americans, how people say, "Oh, they were," and it's like, no, they were. Okay, racially they might have been, but they were multiple different nations
who all were fighting and killing each other and enslaving each other. And yeah, I mean,
as European people of European descent, we can't say that we were any better because it's the same thing happening across Europe and that.
The way I see it, yeah, to me, it's just the most weak stance to take. I mean, why can't people just say, look, these people came into your country, they fought you, they took it over, now it's theirs. Okay, shake hands, admit you lost, it's over. But no, you get hundreds of years later, you get people saying, well, I come from this ancient people and I'm bitter. I want to feel more powerful. I want to boost up my identity. So I'm going to bitch about the fact that my ancestors got their ass kicked by some foreigners. It's over, dude. It's over.
Yeah.
The fight's over.
The way that I saw it, we got this land from right of conquest.
Right of conquest. That's going to trigger a bunch of people. They're going to say, see, you're an imperialistic warlord. You've come in, you're a bloodthirsty, animal. And it's strange. Like that is, you have to accept that is the history of humanity. And this is the history of today. Like every border you see on a map was not drawn in some harmonious ceremony of border drawing. It was drawn with blood.
Oh, no. Yeah, like nations are literally built on blood.
Yeah.
The back of soldiers. That's how they're built.
And I love when people criticize nations like Australia or America or Israel. I always wonder, what nation are you writing that tweet from? Please tell me this nation that you live in that apparently has no history of conflict and you have the moral high ground. It's like, what, Atlantis? Like where are you right now? They don't want to say because go ahead.
You know that idiot that we were both tweeting with, the anarchist atheist?
Oh really? What was he on about?
He recently, like, I haven't even noticed, but this other bloke has tweeted to me, oh yes, all these things, and it's just like, yeah, is your nation being attacked by soldiers or anything else? If no, you do not get to you get to criticize your government, but not to the fact that you want to abolish it.
Yeah,
anarchism.
It never really worked. Oh yeah, exactly. But it's all this. It's pacifism. It's people who want to. They want to pretend that life is not about conflict and violence. They would rather life be like that. These people are not equipped to deal with the reality of war.
And honestly, like with the human psyche, we're not really able to deal with war because the human psyche can only go so far. But the moment that you accept that the world is built on death, and I wish that it wasn't, but I'm not going to say no. This world isn't built on war. Like in Australia, like I said, our most precious day is a day that we invaded another country.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Oh, really? Well, there's two things going on here. I mean, yeah, I understand. We want to have restraint. We don't want war. I mean, and really, the world on the whole is doing good with that. When you consider what it
Oh yeah.
could be, we are generally peaceful, with a few exceptions, Muslims. But what's interesting is that it's not modern day conflict that we're worried about. It's people today bitching about shit that happened years ago, sometimes hundreds of years ago.
Mm.
Like, for example, here's a modern day example: Iraq. When are people going to stop talking about Iraq? I mean, it's every day we hear about this, and it's not in the present moment. We're out of Iraq; it's over. And but
Yeah,
we
no,
go ahead.
oh, yeah, I think Australia only pulled our forces out. We pulled it out like 5 or 6 years ago. It's over. Get on with it.
Yeah, I know. They can't move on, man. But there's reasons why they can't move on. I mean, there's an agenda at play here. They love talking about this. That's why I was fascinated watching the No Room for Racism stuff in Australia, and people were criticizing Tony Abbott about his involvement in the Middle East. I'm like, dude, how many men did Australia send over there? This is not Australia's
Oh
war.
no. Yeah, well, one of the things is we can't actually forcefully send troops over there because we haven't been invited. This is the thing. Vietnam, Korea, all wars from World War II onwards, we have actually been invited by the governments.
Mhm.
Australia has never invaded, apart from Turkey, but that was World War One. So,
But I mean, what are we expecting from a nation with 23 million people with a limited armed forces? Like, what, it's not your job to police the world, and anything you do is like decoration. This is a symbolic gesture. You guys are not doing the heavy
well,
lifting.
actually, Desert Storm, Operation
Yeah,
Desert Storm,
yeah.
with Kuwait and all that.
Mhm.
Originally, the only people that the Americans would let in was the Australian SASR.
Yeah, no,
They were the
I
only
understand. You guys are, trained up and are good
where
to have on your team. It's just that
we're
we
the
don't
yeah,
technically
like
we don't
we can't do everything.
right.
We're not like Britain or America. We don't have large forces.
Right. Now, let me ask you about this new prime minister of yours. Is this guy a cunt or what?
Uh, Malcolm Turnbull, I'm not sure. Abbott, yeah, he's an asshole.
But at least Abbott was willing to confront Islam. This other
Oh
guy
yeah.
is a total Islamophile. He loves Islam.
Oh well. Yeah. But like on this was pretty much Abbott's thing on capturing how much money and paying our debts and all that. Tax the plebs more.
Now, how did he get voted out? How does that work? I mean, you just demanded a recount? I don't get that.
No. From what I understand, there was it was an inter-party thing in the Liberal Party. They just sort of turned around and was like, we don't want you as Prime Minister anymore.
Wait a minute. Abbott was liberal?
And yeah. Oh no. No, he was Conservative. Okay. Quick summary of the Australian political thing. We've got two major parties, the Liberals and Labor. The
Mhm.
Liberals are the Conservatives, and Labor are the Liberals.
You just blew my mind.
Yeah, it's like the same in Britain. They have the Conservative Liberal Party, which are the Conservatives, and they've got the Labor Party, which is the Liberals.
Christ almighty. Too confusing to even process. Yeah. But I mean, how did the other party just decide? Oh, wait a minute.
No. It was
Oh, the new
within
guy
the
is a
Liberal
liberal
Party.
too. Oh,
Yeah,
that
it
guy's a
was within
fucking.
the Liberal.
Wait a minute. This new guy who's a lover of Islam is a conservative?
Yep,
What the hell? That's
I have
weird.
no idea.
Wow. And why? I don't know. Is he a Christian though?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Well, I'm not
Well,
that into politics, but I mean, it is interesting to see these shifts happen.
oh yeah, well, we've had two coups well, actually, we've had three coups in Australia.
Hmm.
The first one was with fucking Julia Gillard taking down Kevin Rudd. Then Kevin Rudd knocking down Julia Gillard, taking back the prime ministership in her second term. And then now we've had Malcolm Turnbull knocking off Tony Abbott.
Now, let me ask you about Newcastle. How is the Muslim population there?
Yeah, there's nothing really going on. There's not really all that much.
So then when you see riots in Sydney from Muslims who are out in the streets, causing all sorts of problems. What are you feeling?
I sort of feel like you're living in a first world country. You have the right to democracy and all that. You're not in a war zone. Shut the fuck up and live your lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the inherent problem. You've hit the nail on the head. They don't want to do that. They want to impose their life onto you. I mean, this is not the golden rule. The golden rule would say, I mean, no, in their eyes, it is the golden rule. This is do unto others as you'd have them do to you. They want you to be a Muslim, and they expect you to follow under Allah's rulings. I mean, it's a twisted thing, but it's just invasive. It's not congruent with a peaceful, harmonious union with different peoples and different cultures. I mean, they are such a sore thumb. They're so different. Like, let me ask you, how is the Indian situation from India in Australia? I assume you have Indians there.
They're underpaid because the Americans are ripping them off.
Okay, but they're also, but you have Indians, you have Chinese people.
We don't hear about the Chinese, the Indian people.
Right, because they're not rioting in the streets.
They're a non-event.
Yeah,
they don't.
Everybody gets along. Everybody gets along. They have businesses. They have friendships. They are an essential part of these communities. They enhance the community. And yet, it's just violence. Can we not have violence from these people? That's all I'm asking for.
Can we not have violence in the world? I know it's a big ask, but can we at least try for it without pushing?
Well, no violence in the world would be a bit of a task. I mean, you just have to have a system in place. I mean, the problem is ideas. There's always going to be violence, popping off here and there from individuals. But from a global death cult, like that you have to address, because the ideas at the core of that religion are violent. They demand violence. I mean, I like political people who can sort of cut between in the 80s how they had the king of I think in the 80s when the whole big fight was happening in Iran. And they had the Shah of Iran, who was in charge. He made it so women could go to universities, hold jobs. They didn't have to wear the burqa. They didn't have to do anything. And he was the one who was going to monopolize the oil and make sure that every country could afford to get oil from Iran. And he was backed by Britain. He had a British wife, and he was very British with his ideas. As soon as the Ayatollah came in, they made it so just about no one could afford oil, everyone had to wear the burqa, and women couldn't go to universities. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that it went that way. And there's a bunch of people there that, they are more modern people. They have values that are more congruent with ours. And unfortunately, the system that's in place there now is just very restrictive and is going backwards. And not to mention, they're surrounded by other nations that are utterly backwards. That whole region. I mean, you heard about the case there was a situation in Abu Dhabi where this female from some Scandinavian country was there as a journalist, and she went out one night. They had some drinks. She got raped by a guy. She reported it to the cops, and she gets arrested, and she gets detained.
Oh yeah, that's fucked
up. Yeah, tell me about it. I mean, that actually, I was about to go to Abu Dhabi. And then I decided not to because I just read that story. I was like, oh, fuck these people. You know, I'll just look at pictures. I'll
Like,
do a Google image search and call it a day.
like I'm not up for like calling anything like everything rape, like a lot of these liberal regressives are. But that was a legitimate thing, and they should have arrested those blokes.
Yeah, I mean,
but
we're not
because of Islam.
Yeah.
Well, because of Islam, because she. Yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. No. Because she wasn't wrapped up in a burqa and all of that, and she got raped, she was the one who committed the crime. It's sort of just like, how do you even... How?
Well, as far as this rape stuff goes, I mean, rape is just commonplace in the Muslim world. They don't even consider it rape. It's just this is they've earned this. This is just normal. But I don't know how big this problem is of false rape accusations. I mean, I know that there's a lot of hysteria about that. But I mean, come on. I mean, there's a way to determine if there's evidence for a rape or not. It's not just a he said, she said.
But that's what the regressive liberal SJWs want it to be. They want it to be assumed guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Do you remember the Duke situation? I think there was these Duke lacrosse players.
Yeah.
And what's great about it is it came out that it was a total lie. And
people still put out, I stand with Jackie.
Yeah. It's never quite exonerated. And these guys never quite get their due. You know, it's like, you just tried to ruin my life. It's a serious accusation. I mean, this is... There should be jail time. Yep. If you accuse somebody of rape that did not rape you, you should go to jail.
Well, I was watching, I can't remember if it was Sargon or TLD, and I like those guys. They speak out against the bullshit. Where this guy who looked like this person who this girl was raped by, he was effectively kicked out of the campus. He wasn't allowed to go to like 75% of it. And he had to stay 200 meters away from her at all times.
Well, lucky for me, I don't know what a meter is, so I wouldn't obey that law. I just walk right up to it.
It's over 3 feet, just.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting debate because there's a lot of moral gray zones in this rape issue, especially when you're talking about... I mean, we're not talking about people getting jacked in an alley and gang raped by some stranger violently. We're talking about people that you know. We're talking about social situations that go too far. So date rape, I mean, 9 times out of 10, we're talking about alcohol is involved. We're talking about inebriated people making life choices that they're going to regret, the next day. And I'm talking about both sides. It's hard to navigate who is morally culpable here.
But the women, they go make that choice, and then they go, and it was like they never see them again, and it's like, oh, he raped me, and it's just like, no, you guys had mutual sex. Right. Yeah, you were drunk. Both of you were drunk. So if we go down the road, just because he or she was drunk, that constitutes rape.
Yeah.
When in control of their actions, then Tilde said this. Is the person who's drunk and gets in their car and then has a car accident, are they not responsible for the car accident? No.
I know. It's very interesting. Like, now, first of all, I mean, look, I'm against every rape and fuck rapists, and it is a major problem. And I have no sympathy for rapists. But there are some situations where I find it interesting when you talk about a sexual encounter between a man and a woman. The way we talk about it is the man did this to the woman. This was like an action the man took upon the woman, as if she was not a part of this. So like if you do have a consensual sexual engagement, it's somehow, this is the woman doing it to the man as much as the man doing it to the woman. But this is the way we think about these things. We think of it as like a stabbing, basically. It's a penis stabbing.
Yeah. Well, in India, because of feminism, it has been legally found that men cannot be raped by women.
Yeah, there was a situation, I think it was in Africa, where there was a gang of women, like 3 women going around raping dudes. And they would get guys, bring them into their car, drug them, and then rape them. And like the guys were embarrassed to go to the police, but they did, some of them. And They were
we've
like
got this
serial
thing
rapists.
that we've got this whole mentality that men cannot be raped, and
Yeah, go to prison and tell me
if you
about
are,
that.
yeah, and it's just like, no, men can be raped. They are raped, and in Australia we've had this big thing with female on male abuse, where this guy, he only punched his girlfriend once, and that was because she stabbed him 7 times with the kitchen knife, and
Yeah.
he was ashamed that he punched her because he couldn't say that he never hit a woman.
But this is the thing. This is the whole mentality of don't punch down. And so all these regressives out there, they view women, the entire gender, as an oppressed victim gender. And so any sort of like it's if you respect women, you respect the fact that they can be in the wrong. That and there are certain situations where they're the bad guy. You know, it's
yeah.
I don't know. But then that being said, obviously the huge flood of violence between men and women is coming from men towards women. And you have to be able to
Yeah.
recognize that.
Yeah, no, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that people just make it seem that it's only men who can do the violence.
Have you ever punched a woman?
No.
You took a long time to answer that.
I was thinking certain things, but then like you know, when your school kids, like how you punch buggy and that sort of crap.
Let me change the question. Have you ever elbowed a woman?
Yeah, only when she was sort of doing like pushing up against me, and I asked her to move, and she wouldn't.
I remember I was at a club once, and some girl came up to me and just started talking mad shit to me. Like just she was drunk, but she was up in my face. It was New Year's Eve, and I was drunk too. And I was thinking, am I gonna fight this woman? I mean, this woman was like physically confrontational to me, and I was like, but then of course some guy stepped in, and then I had to deal with the guy. He was gonna white knight for her, and but usually people don't mess with me because I'm a tall, sort of big looking dude, so I sort of don't get into conflicts like that.
I'm not really all that like I'm about I think 6 foot now, so.
What do you mean now? You're still growing?
Yeah, I'm still growing. I'm 19 years old. Was in February. I'm 20 next February.
Wow.
Yes, and I was all. Yep.
No, continue.
So in primary and high school, I was always short ass.
That's what they called you?
No, but that literally, I was shorter than just about everyone else in my year, and some years below and above me.
And did you have a Napoleon complex?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there are some short guys. I love them. Who, God love them, please, because they go to the gym and they try to get wider. They try to get thicker as a compensation for their height. I mean, it's weird. Like the physical dimensions of your body can have an enormous impact on your psychology, including penis size.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I go to the gym, not like I'm about 6 foot now. I probably hit 6'2", but I go there not because I think, I need to beef up to boost my self-esteem. I go there because I know I need to get healthier.
Yeah, but what's funny is this is a new trend. If you were alive in the 80s and even the 90s, there would be no reason for a teenage guy to go to the gym. They'd be like, why? I'm strong enough. I'm healthy. What the fuck? Why do I have to go and improve my body? What the fuck? I'm not even at my prime yet. But nowadays, it's like a more normal thing. Everybody goes to the gym.
Like I'm going there legitimately because I'm not all that active. I'm not all that healthy.
Right.
So
you're sitting there eating Doritos and playing video games and Skyping and hanging out with me. I mean, there's too many. The video games nowadays are too good. I blame the quality of the video game. If I was a young guy today and they had the games out there, I would be playing those games. I understand how awesome they are. I'm sort of happy I don't play them because they are freaking addicting. Gamers are
yeah,
everywhere,
definitely.
man. I mean, you listen to Sargon. Sargon's a total gamer nerd, right?
Oh, oh yeah, and I love him for it.
Right. Well, not only you, I mean, hundreds of thousands of people, but these people are proud. They're like, I am totally neck deep into the gaming nerd universe, and I am proudly waving that flag. There's nothing wrong with it. Fuck you,
Yeah.
people. I mean,
And
the bronies.
that's one of the things that
Sorry.
That's one of the things I like, how he sort of like doesn't apologize for who he is.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I like that.
Like,
but like, there are bronies who do this too. Like, where do you draw the line, though? I mean, look, there is such.
Creepy.
I don't know what gamers talk about. Like, I don't know the names that gamers call each other, but there's got to be levels of within the gaming community where there's gamers who are functional human beings who have a social life, who actually can carry, conversations with women in a public setting, and then there are gamers who are just living in a fucking closet playing video games all day, and that has to be stigmatized. There's got to be some negative, labeling going on here. No?
Yeah.
What do you call that guy?
No, not really.
Yeah, why? That's the problem.
Me? There's no really negative connotation. I think because like for most of like since games were created, they were sort of a niche demographic and like sort of looked down upon.
Okay, but wait a minute. If you're telling me some guy's playing ElfQuest 23 hours of the day, and he's squandering his job, his girlfriend, he doesn't have a girl. He is playing that game, and that is the definition of his life. There's got to be other gamers who are willing to call him out and say, "What the fuck, dude?"
Yeah, no, we'll say like seriously, mate, go do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no real sort of negative connotation.
But it's weird because I know that within nerddom, there is a hierarchy of nerds, and the nerds are going to pull rank on other nerds, and they're going to be like, "Look, you're not even as good of a nerd as I am. Like, you're just some noob nerd who's just a bandwagon jumper."
In Australia, I haven't really come across that. Like, we're just sort of all like, because we're still like in Australia, there's still a whole lot of the sort of 80s, 90s sort of jock sort of mentality, how nerds and people who play games, like they're sort of weird. You don't want to go near them.
No, I get that.
And
but I think, they talk about the meek shall inherit the earth. I mean, I think that's happened. I think the internet, maybe not inherit the earth, but at least they have camaraderie with millions of other people. I mean, look, if you were a gamer dork in the 80s, you were alone. You were alone. There's a movie I'm sure you're too young to know this, but for everybody else out there, Better Off Dead was a movie from the 80s with John Cusack. And he had a next door neighbor named Ricky, who was a fat, chubby kid with glasses who was a nerd. But they didn't have kick-ass video games back then. But he was a social outcast, and everybody was like, this guy is not somebody we should emulate. This guy is an outcast. We should ostracize him. But nowadays, Ricky would be popular as hell. I mean, Ricky would have a YouTube channel, and he would have fans, and he would have an enormous community. And that's a radical shift. They're not social outcasts anymore. They're the in group. They're the cool kids now within their group.
I'm sort of like I'm sort of like the middle ground. Like, I've got friends. I'll go out, do stuff like with my YouTube channel. It's actually me and a mate who do that.
I mean, this is also tied in with the sexodus, where guys are basically giving up on sexual pursuits. They're giving up on women and the socializing in general, because there is so much else to do online. There's so much of another option.
It's sad.
Yeah, it is sad, but it's like if you have this porn life that you live, and there is a wide array of experiences that your brain can go on within porn, this can satisfy you on this can satisfy you on some level. I mean, it's not the same. Everybody would recognize it's not the same. But look, let's be honest. What chance do these people have at getting an attractive woman? It's slim to none already. Why put yourself through that torment? I can play Call of Duty for 25 hours straight. And I can jerk off 25 times during that run simultaneously.
that's how it goes. Like,
Yeah,
it's sad.
it's sad, but I don't
Like, it's
see
good.
that. I don't think they think it's sad. I think they are happy with this bargain. They're like, yeah, I'm okay with this shift.
Mm. Like, I am sort of one of those people. Like, I play Elder Scrolls and that, but I have got mates, and I go out and like we spend. One of my mates who lives at the uni, like we talk, spend time, like do stuff together,
Mhm.
and yeah, and I've got a number of mates like that, and
Unfortunately,
so
I think that the this sexual gratification issue ties back in with Islam because I think these Muslims are deeply sexually repressed, especially the conservative ones. And I think that if
mm,
only they could find some sort of satisfaction on that front, they would be chilled out and they would fucking relax on the Bronze
I
Age mythology.
like Christians, particularly with like the Protestant churches,
Mhm.
they're just sort of like all of this mostly Catholic stuff. It is wrong. Like Church of England, they are happy with friggin' condoms and the pill and all that. But with the Catholics, no, that is wrong. That is
Yeah,
against God.
sexual repression is it goes throughout all religion. It's like the defining characteristic of religion. I mean, they are so goddamn backward on that. You know, you talk about the nuns, the priests, the little boys getting fucked. Yeah, the condom issue in Africa and AIDS. I mean, it's like it's been a disaster. If only religion could keep with talking about its bullshit scientific claims and morality and all the well, it's actually immorality. But if they could just keep it there and leave sex to the secular world, then we'd all be better for it. But they don't. They want to dominate all sections of life and control everything. Have you ever gotten advice
Which,
from a religious person about sex that has been of any value whatsoever?
no, not really. Not like a priest or anything. No,
Yeah, they're going around talking about abstinence, and that's how
it's
insane they are.
it doesn't work.
Yeah,
Like it is the only 100% way to stop pregnancy, but it people these days, is it really going to work?
well, yeah. Trying to suggest that people be abstinent is like trying to suggest people don't eat. And ironically, that is what religion does. They have fasting. Like this is like
Oh,
let's deny our most primal basic urges for the sake of invisible sky creatures. That's basically the premise. Dumb.
like yeah. Oh, did you see the thing with Cenk, how he sort of had to protect the Jews
No, which
against
Jew?
no all of Jews with Ted Nugent.
Oh, really? What did Ted say?
He was supporting things like go into Iran and get not Iran, Israel and kick all the Jews out, like just pretty much destroy Jews across the world. So Cenk had to defend Jews,
It's so
and
precious. The only thing better than that
but
is when, yeah, I mean, Cenk is such an anti-Semite. Good God. But the only thing better than that is when he pretends that Islamophobia, this backlash against Muslims, we got to be worried because Muslims are going to be the next Jews. There's going to be a Holocaust of Muslims, which I'm sure he would deny. But like, the Muslims are the most anti-Semitic, Jew-hating people on the planet by far. They make the Nazis
and
blush. I mean,
yeah, and but one of the things is he turns it around to protect the Muslims.
yeah. Oh, what? But he has to gerrymander that. So he has to only talk about certain geographic regions where the Muslims are the minority. And then it fits his agenda. So in America, there's
Oh,
0.8% Muslim. Now we can talk about it. Let's not talk about, the high command of, al-Nusra. The Muslims are not the minority there. So who am I supposed to protect there? Western civilization? Like,
like 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 they keep going on about how Jews were good with Muslims. Like, yeah, okay, maybe in say the 4th century onwards till about like a couple of hundred years after the Crusades, but they still weren't any better off.
Yeah, I mean, any reference to a Jew, to me, it just raises my eyebrow, because I'm like, why are you talking about Jews right now? The Jews are so insignificant in this world. There are so few of them, that what is it about you that you are obsessed with these people? I mean, could it be possibly, let me float this theory out there, that you are part of the centuries, millennia long tradition of anti-Semitism? Has some of that sort of leaked down onto you? Is there a chance of that? Do you come from Turkey, a place where Mein Kampf is a bestseller? I mean, these things are factors where it might lead you to believe that, yeah, I think something else is at play here. I mean, imagine if every 10 minutes I brought up albino praying mantises from Madagascar, and I just wedged that into every conversation. We're talking about, some situation in Europe. I'm like, yeah, well, you know what about those albino praying mantises in Madagascar? I don't like them. They're a pest. I think I need to criticize them. It's like,
oh yeah, that has got nothing to do with anything.
I know, it's amazing, and that's why. Yeah, that's why I call them Junicorns. It's a Junicorn sighting. The mere mention of a Jew, is ridiculous. And the fact that 24% of humans in this world are Muslim, and we talk about Muslims and we put Jews in the same sentence, and Jews are 0.2% of the world. It blows my mind. If you want to talk about Muslims and Christians, then sure, yeah, these are equivalently sized groups of people. Why are you throwing Jews in there? I don't understand that.
One of probably one of my favorite historical leaders from the Crusades time, he was a Muslim by the name of Saladin. He was the king of a thousand tribes. He was the one who fought against Richard the Lionheart. When he took Jerusalem, do you know what his orders were? Do not touch any of the houses of worship.
Wait, do not touch who?
Any of the houses of worship of any religion.
Yeah.
He gave his men orders. You touch that, I will murder you.
Yeah, but do touch the vaginas of the infidel. But don't touch the houses of...
No, actually, he was against that as well.
Well, he sounds a bit rapey to me. He's 1,000, what? What do you have?
1,000. He was the king of 1,000 tribes, I think.
Well, he's exploiting that power. What's the point of having power if you're not getting sex out of it?
But compared to a lot of the Crusaders, he was more moral with ruling, because he only executed only executed a couple prisoners, and that was because they continually, after he let them go, continually broke the treaty that the Christians had with the Muslims and attacking innocent civilians.
Yeah, I mean, these people are lunatics. But I mean, it reminds me of the early days of the Afghan war recently, where they released footage of us droning these people with our gunships, and you'd see these little heat signatures, and they'd run into mosques. And once they got into the mosque, it's like a safe zone. It's like, okay, safe, can't touch them. And the guys who were running the gunships were like, "Ah, fuck, it's a mosque, can't do anything."
If it was a highly populated area where we knew that were innocent civilians, I would understand that. Because you don't want to bomb innocent civilians. However, it's just because they run into a mosque or a church, if they are bad guys, they're bad guys. Blow it up.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you cannot do this without breaking some eggs. I mean, if you're attacking ISIS, I got news for you. There's civilians in and among the ISIS strongholds. And there are victims and people who are powerless to get out of that situation. But what are we going to do? Not attack ISIS now? I mean, just because, are we going to not attack Hamas now because they run and scurry into some building with non-combatants intentionally? I mean, there's never been a clean war. It's always going to be messy.
No. Field Marshal Montgomery, he was in charge of the British forces in World War II. He was the one who actually planned the D-Day invasion. He said, morals are good, but you can't drive a tank over them.
Yeah.
It's This war is going to get bloody. Civilians are going to die.
Yeah.
But that is better than if we let the Nazis run the world.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And once you understand who is making these decisions during a war, these are not like philosophers. These are not people who are going to spend a month in retreat weighing the moral consequences of the next decision they make. These are military guys who have been trained to be military guys. Yeah. Like I watched this great documentary. There's a documentary called The Fog of War, which is Robert McNamara, and it was talking about Vietnam specifically and World War II. But he was a guy who was one of these decision makers, and he was in the rooms when the generals would be like, so should we go in and firebomb Tokyo? If we do that, we're going to kill this number of people. They're all civilians. We know that. Should we do this? Knowing what the Japanese have done to us, knowing the situation of this war. And, the guy spent 5 seconds and said, yeah, let's do that. Send it. Go. It's like, war is awful. War is hell. But go ahead.
Like, if they took out people who they knew civilians and then executed them, at that point I would say no, you should not do that. That is terrible. That is illegal. If you physically take them out, put them up against a wall and shoot them. However, if you're in that situation where the enemy is not surrendering and you have to do something horrible to stop them, I won't like it, but I won't I go, you're a terrible person.
Hey, could you hold on 1 second? I think I have a package being delivered.
Yeah. Hold on. Yep.
Okay. Oh, hold on. I gotta pretend like I can speak German to this guy coming up here. I don't even try. Hold on, we got 83 people, 86 people viewing this right now. So keep them entertained for the next 2 minutes. Give them a little soliloquy. I'll be right back. Hello.
Okay. So, what my particular view of war is, I don't even know what I'm doing. In short, the situation around the world is fucked up because of political correctness.
I'm back.
And yep.
Political correctness. What should we do about
it? Just don't worry about hurting people's feelings as much. To a point, if you're going to insult someone or a direct relative of theirs, say their mother or something, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But don't say, just because they're a minority, they have to be protected.
No,
fuck that.
No, I personally, it's my quest in life. I go after handicapped, gay, trans midgets of color. That's my primary target. Now, if I can't find any of those, I will work backwards from there and respect these oppressed, quote unquote, people enough to call them out when they are wrong and when they have bad ideas. And it's the paradigm of only attack Donald Trump and rich white people and work backwards from there is basically what mainstream liberals do. And it's garbage.
Yeah, that is bullshit.
Now, let me.
You're gonna do...
Well, I was going to bring it back to the morality of war, which we were talking about, because I found it interesting. We've done studies, and we know that people are more willing to make decisions that will end in people dying if they are not personally involved in it. And during war, it's always going to be a general who is sitting in an air-conditioned room who's going to make these decisions. Now, hopefully that general has been on the front lines and knows what death is, knows what war is, so he can understand the gravitas. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, like I was saying with Field Marshal Montgomery, he was actually a major in the First World War and got his lungs shot out.
Yeah.
By a German sniper. So in World War II, when he was a field marshal, he knew what war was like.
Right. Well, it could go the other
Um,
way. It could be like, I know what war is like, and that's why I want to kill these motherfuckers. You know, like an Adolf Hitler
oh no,
situation where he was in war. Adolf
yeah.
Hitler knew what war is. That didn't stop him from, starting global conquest.
He was a lance corporal in the Austrian army in the First World War.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, he
But
was. But see, for me, it's like Game of Thrones. Ned Stark. Remember the first episode, and he
yeah,
sentences a guy to death, and he says, "Now I'm going to do it." I mean, that's manly. That's not
yeah.
Generation Pussy. Ned Stark was.
I like that. If you're going to hand out a punishment, do it yourself.
Yeah, and Ned Stark, the actor, he's a Gen Xer. I mean, he's a guy who was around before the internet. I mean, this is a guy who does not hide his name on the internet. But
Sean Bean, he doesn't sort of give a damn about what roles he plays if they turn out to be assholes.
well, it doesn't matter what role he plays. He's going to end up getting killed in the role.
Actually, no. There was a series called Sharp, which is Sean Bean playing the main character Sharp in the Napoleonic Wars. He dies of old age.
But he ends up dying. He's never lived.
Yes.
He's always had. I mean, you saw what happened to him in Lord of the Rings. Took a massive arrow.
Yeah.
I mean, he got wasted.
Oh yeah, but he was bad after that. Like they shot him 15 arrows.
Yeah, yep. I mean, speaking of Lord of the Rings, when are you guys going to take over New Zealand? Finally, get it done.
No, we've even in state areas of when you're applying for jobs, we've even got New Zealand in there, right under New South Wales.
Well, what about Tasmania? I got a fan from Tasmania. It sent me an email the other day.
Tasmania is a state of Australia. No, Tasmania is a state of Australia. Yeah.
So it's officially part of Australia?
It's always been.
But is it like Puerto Rico is to America, or is it like Alaska is to America?
No. It's a state. Is a state. It flies the Australian flag. It's like what the Falklands are to Britain. Actually, no. That'd be more like Papua New Guinea was to Australia. It's like what Hawaii is to America.
Okay. And is there any reason to go there, or have you ever been there?
Yeah, I've been there. They've got a nice rainforest. Like a waterfall.
Do you fly out there, or is it a boat possible, or is it too far?
Yeah. When I went there, we flew over. The current apparently is extremely strong. There was only one ship who ever went through there, I believe. And that whole area was like the water between Victoria and Tasmania was actually named by the two officers of that ship.
Yeah, well, you talk about General Cook. What was his deal? What was his story?
Captain Cook.
Yeah, Captain Cook.
He was a British officer, and he was sort of like a scientist. He was sent down around the Pacific area to watch a solar eclipse, as I understand. And then as they were coming back, my father believes that this was originally Cook's original orders was to find Australia or some land for the British to colonize. And he was in Queensland, and he ran up against a reef, and his ship was marooned.
But
his Marines,
Didn't he also go by Hawaii? I'm getting a feedback on your end.
Yeah, no, he was killed in Hawaii.
He was?
Yeah, one of the natives stabbed him.
I think the audio on your end is replaying. Can you mute that?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or do you have headphones, or what? I'm not sure.
No, I haven't got headphones.
Okay. Well, if you're going to get killed anywhere, I guess Hawaii is a good place to go. But this guy, this guy got around.
He was. Oh yeah. He was actually on leave in Hawaii, having a holiday, and he'd been there a number of times, thought it was safe. Next thing he knows, there's a spear going through him.
He was on leave. Let me translate that for everybody at home. He was boning Hawaiian women with a vengeance.
Probably.
Yeah, just sipping on Mai Tais, eating pineapple and coconut.
Yeah, what
Snort.
the officers do.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie? There's a really good. Fuck, I hear myself talking. You don't hear that?
Nope.
Test.
Try and plug in the mic.
Wait, so you have no headphones anywhere, huh? Hello? Alexander, the Great One. We have lost you. Technical difficulties. Well, I was talking about a movie called Mutiny, Mutiny on the Bounty, and I recommend you watch it. There's probably a stream available online if you look it up, but it was an old movie about these early guys going out to like Tahiti, a British naval ship which heads out there, and there's a mutiny. I think it might be based in truth. It might be a real story, but it stars a young Anthony Hopkins, and the cast is actually outstanding. It's young Anthony Hopkins is the captain of the ship. You got Mel Gibson, who's the mutineer, young Mel Gibson, before he went, all psycho crazy. He probably was crazy back then. Then you got in the crew, you got Daniel Day-Lewis, and you got Liam Neeson. I mean, this is a hidden gem. All these guys who are going to go off and have these huge careers. I recommend it to all. Our Aussie teen friend who is growing appears to have abandoned me, and I have abandonment issues. So that is not cool. We were discussing some colonial, imperialistic, global, historical, moral events and meandering from topic to topic. However, he has abandoned me, and I'll give him another minute here. Otherwise, I will stop talking to myself in my own bedroom, even though there are apparently some people listening to me right now. I've got a lot to do today. It is a beautiful day, and I got to head out and make a video. I will be making a new video today. It is about race. It is about a black racist. It is about a gay black racist who said some incredibly stupid shit. He made a video entitled, "Black Crime is the Fault of White People." It's the title of his video. He's not hiding. He's not dodging. He's not pretending that that's not what he's saying. He is saying that overtly. I find it amusing because most white pussy liberals out there, they're saying that exact same thing. It's just they don't have the intellectual honesty to actually say that. So they'll say, black crime is the fault of poverty, which is the fault of racism, and which is the fault of slavery.
Am I back, Devin?
Yeah, you're back. What's up?
Sorry, microphone difficulties.
Nice, you're back. I was gonna bail out, but you've come back.
Yeah, no. I thought my microphone might have been the thing with it bouncing back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the thing with the bounty, it was based on a true story. That did actually happen.
And I'm sure it happened in multiple. I mean, it's understandable. It's like the British people.
Oh, yeah.
They have this class system, and all you get on a boat with a bunch of people from the underclass. Well, you have
with Bly.
Yeah.
With Bly, the guy who committed the mutiny, he was actually from the underclass as well. He was actually a privateer. Well, that the British employed.
It's a tricky situation because you have the officer and you have his, the guys that he brings aboard, but this is only a handful of guys. And then you got the regular crewmen, and these people vastly outnumber these guys. So unless the British rule of law and this respect that is given to the officers, unless that is upheld, then mutiny is inevitable. I mean, these people are not going to take this shit. Their lives are on the line.
But then it also came around with the British. They didn't like an officer who wasn't born from class to be touched by God. Like at that point in history, they were just sort of like a ranker. Jesus Christ, we're all going to go die. He's not a proper officer.
Mm-hmm. But I think
it was sort of like this sort of double standard.
A lot of these people, they would see an island like Tahiti or Hawaii and be like, do I really want to go back to Britain? Especially if I've already committed a crime and they're just going to hang me if I go back. So I'm basically, do I stay here with this beautiful weather, this beautiful women, all this food, or do I go back to like rainy old, crusty old England and all those English, women which are not, they're not internationally famous for their good looks.
One of the things with with the Sharp Arm, they actually got a song commissioned, and part of the song for that is like, I might go over the hills and far away and not return to England, essentially.
Yeah.
After the fighting's done. And it's just like, yeah, well, you're talking about Spain and France. To be fair, they're not all that great. They're not, they're a lot better than Britain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a naval life was one for me. There's a very good movie with Russell Crowe. Did you see that?
Yeah, and he's fighting against the French.
Yeah.
Fuck, yeah, I know when you're talking about.
Oh, wait a minute. Was he French? Or is it English ship? I forget it.
No, he was. I think he was French, but originally with the. No, I know. I think he was British because the original story was the superior French vessel in the movie was actually American.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't have America being the bad guys in Hollywood.
That was a fascinating movie because it's just an interesting time because it's based in truth. I mean, these people actually did this stuff. Yeah. This was actually what was going on out there. And they went down to the Galapagos Islands and stuff, which also has an interesting tie-in if you're an atheist.
Well, even if you're not, just like you believe with evolution.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing that some British naturalist, just basically piggybacks on a boat ride, goes down and starts staring at the beak length of sparrows, or what are they, birds? What kind of bird was it?
Finches.
Finch, right, exactly, finch. And based off this guy staring at beak length and other factors, the entire global civilization is radically changed. But it comes from an Englishman. I give England credit. I blame England for spreading religion, and then I credit England for eradicating it.
Yeah, you got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah,
whether it's good or bad.
And I hope, the old way that they spread religion was by getting on boats and subjugating and just going down just on an individual basis. They just walk up to people and convert them. And
it wasn't with peace; it was by the saber.
Right, but nowadays it's far easier. You don't need to get in the boat. You just jump online and start shaming people and being like, "Here's the better idea. Your ideas are shit."
And there is always, admittedly with atheism, there is sort of what people would see as a dogma, sort of thing, but it's nowhere near as bad as the other ones.
Yeah, but it's not. See, the awkward problem here is that we're right, and they have lost every battle. Every debate has been lost by these people. There's, any look at the evidence from any scientific field has come to the same result. It's just embarrassing. It's just a matter of time. That's why many atheists like myself have moved on. We've moved past this. We don't need to keep patting ourselves on the back and saying, "Hey, we're right? We're correct, right? There's no God, right? Let's talk about it some more, right?" It's like, God, it's annoying. We know we're right. Now it's just laughter.
That's what I'm doing with debunking videos. I just do it for a laugh.
Right.
And I've moved on, I'm moving on to social justice because this is a real thing and it's a threat to my hobbies and that.
Yeah.
But it was a big thing because
it is a laugh, but specifically, I bet your videos are mostly about Christians. It's a...
Yeah, admittedly.
Right, so
I have subscribed to... Yep.
It is a laugh to talk about Christians, but the problem is the Muslims have been a buzzkill because now it's not funny. It's not funny what they're doing. And the more we learn about them, the more videos we see, the more we are aware of what they actually believe in and how it actually manifests in the world. We're not laughing. They're not Ken Ham. It's like we're not even at the point.
Terrible.
Oh God, creation debate. Well, apparently Kent Hovind is going to debate the drunken peasants. You know, these
Oh,
intellectual giants are going to lock horns.
I have got to say that I am rooting for the drunken peasants with that.
Yeah, but what does it tell you?
I can't.
What does it tell you that even morbidly obese, micro-penised high school dropouts, they can speak on behalf of the civilized world? I mean, that's pretty embarrassing.
Oh well, technically, Kent Hovind Kent Hovind and his son should actually be put back in jail because Logic did a video on a response to him where he brought out vitamin B12 tablets, which have been told around the world that they cure cancer. They don't do jack shit for cancer.
What is he selling them?
And the US, Kent Hovind's son is selling them.
Oh God,
and shipping them around America. And Kent Hovind brought them onto his YouTube channel and promoted them. And Logic, another one I follow, he just turns around and is like, "You guys, that is illegal. You guys should be arrested for this."
Yeah, but I mean, really,
you are selling.
If you want to start getting technical, I mean, if false advertising is a crime, then the police should march into every. Yeah, I mean, but still, the concept is the same. I mean, these are people making claims and promises that are not true. I mean, so the church should be prosecuted for this shit. I mean, what about these people that say, you know, if somebody says you're going to live forever, and then says, "Look, and I'm going to keep telling you this. Now, will you give me some money for it? Please give me money."
Oh yeah.
This is what's happening. This is snake oil. This is a charlatan. And just another thing, like we discuss sex and religion and what a abortion of a relationship that is. Money and religion is another absolutely disgraceful relationship.
The church says money is sinful, so give me all your money.
Yeah, it's in the text. I mean, it's like it's a pyramid scheme before the pyramids were built.
Yeah. One of the things that Jesus said is render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. So basically give him back his money.
Yeah.
It's just like on concept, like that is sort of good. You're moving away from depending on Rome. But in saying that, you're not really going to survive.
Yeah, and also the Romans were not these enlightened, like what the Romans set up was not the ideal. And they also had a major shift. They had a religious fanatic, Constantine, who
made Christianity the official religion of Rome, and that's when everything turned to shit.
Yeah, the religion before that wasn't great either. I mean, whatever they had going on was delusional madness.
That was I find like that sort of like the Greek, Roman, and Egyptian one, how they've sort of got gods for everything. I find that a little bit more believable. Like I still laugh at out of town, but like just one person has enough power to do everything. I'm just like,
yeah, I mean, it's all it's all poetry. It's all just early humans not knowing what the hell was going on in the world. As far as the Romans go, we should take their irrigation technology. We'll take their road building skills, and the rest of it can sort of bugger off.
And one of the things that when the Christians took over Rome, and what they did in the world was deface all their beautiful statues and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's just like,
weren't they covering penises?
No, in Vatican City there is a whole room full of marble dicks, and they don't know what statues they belong to.
Yeah. Amazing. I would love to have a tour of that room.
But it's just like, why did you even care?
It's also funny though, why are those ancient sculptures everybody's limp? Like if I was going to get carved into stone, at least carve me erect, fully erect. I don't want a semi-chub. Like the statue of David. Statue of David is not impressive. He has good upper body strength. But the lower you go, the less impressive it gets. And his dick is barely clearing his balls. It's like barely dipping over the event horizon of his balls.
It's just like, okay, this is good. Oh, well, that's just sad.
But the problem is like, how is anybody going to maintain an erection for like 10 hours while some sculptor is sculpting you? It's like that's a pretty
Oh
lofty
yeah.
task. So it's like, look, I'm going to beat
So
off.
yeah,
I'm going to beat off real quick. I'm going to get aroused and then just sculpt very quickly. Is what I'm saying, because I can't hold this.
yeah. It was impossible. So like there was the need to have to do that.
Yeah,
But still, they could use their imagination.
I'd even settle for an erect nipple from a woman. Like, what? I wonder if these models were like, hold on, let me just get these ice cubes going real quick, and let me perk up for you before you immortalize me.
Just thinking with that, how I was talking with Salahadin, when Richard Lionheart actually got sick, one of the things that Salahadin actually did was sent him fruit and ice water.
For what?
To help him get better.
Well,
as a show of respect between the two commander-in-chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, respect in war has sort of gone by the wayside a bit. We've tried to bring it back. We tried the Geneva Convention, but nobody really abides by it.
One of the things, I was watching a documentary about Sun Tzu and all of that, and apparently at the end of the Vietnam War, the American general turns to the colonel of the Vietnamese forces, and he said, "You should have met us on the battlefield." And I just turned and I'm just like, if you really want to go down there, you should have got a British guy, and he would have turned around to you guys and it's like, you really want to start that? You should have fought straight out. You know why you didn't? You would have got thrashed.
Yeah,
that's why they didn't.
But the history of warfare is the victors in any engagement tend to be the ones that break the rules. Shaka Zulu broke the rules. The Americans broke the rules. I mean, you have to innovate. You have to adapt. Otherwise, especially if you're up against a superior force in numbers and technology, it's suicide. There's nothing cool about suicide.
Yeah, the reason Britain sort of became the dominant power in the world was because the creation of the Baker rifle and the fact that Wellington said, aim to his riflemen, aim. Don't worry about the idea of murder. It is don't worry about it. Go out, take shots, aim. Yeah. That's what made Britain the superior power.
Yeah, they had the discipline and the fortitude and just that iron will of just, this is how we do things. And my commander said something, I'm going to do it
now. Yeah, and like the British, they had everyone, they had murderers and that, and they flogged them and drilled them and turned them into gentlemen. Well, not gentlemen, but as close as they were going to get.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the morality of war has changed ever since the catapult, really. I mean, ever since it became not hand-to-hand combat. Then it became something theoretical. And that leads all the way to air warfare and, drones and all that stuff. But it's one of
the American generals said, like, people keep going on, we lost all morality when we dropped the nukes. And one of the American generals who was in charge of fighting the Japs in the Pacific, he turns around and was like, no, we lost all morality when we started firebombing those places. So shut up.
Yeah, but also I have no sympathy for the Japanese when it comes to, if you want to talk about morality and war crimes, and these are the murderers of 10 million people during that conflict. So it's not, I mean, it's really just really precious to frame the Japanese as the victims of World War II. I mean, that is precious. It's an indefensible position.
I can sort of understand to a point with when they beheaded our troops, I can sort of understand. I don't agree with it, but I can understand. But when they got Australian troops and New Zealanders and they worked them to death building bridges and stuff and barely fed them and gave them water, I'm just like, that is unforgivable.
Yeah, go ask the Koreans and the Chinese about how Japan is the victim. They're not going to have much sympathy. I mean, it's all in the history books. If anybody cares to look at it, but instead, what we get is people like Jimmy Dore who just throw out the bumper sticker statement, which is, "There's nothing worse than the Crusades. There's nothing worse than dropping nuclear bombs.
Uh,
There's nothing worse."
yeah, like, oh, no, not like coming out and hacking someone's head off.
Here's what's worse than dropping a nuclear bomb: not surrendering after a nuclear bomb is dropped upon you. That's worse.
They had to. Britain and America had to threaten with a third one before the Japanese would surrender. Yeah. And even then, Australian troops were fighting Japanese in the caves in Papua New Guinea for 2 years after the war.
Yeah, and again, you can't blame every Japanese citizen, of course, or Japanese soldier, because the commands are coming from a very small group of people. One person. It's coming from one guy. You know.
And it wasn't even the emperor.
Oh, who was it?
It was actually Tojo, the prime minister, was actually the one who started the war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the emperor was sort of like chucked out, and he was the one who ended the war. And the Japanese army, apart from the Imperial Guard, actually tried to murder the emperor after he ordered a surrender.
And this is the problem when you have single individuals controlling the fate of millions of people. So what do we end up with? We end up with an American in France in some sort of knife fight with a German in France. Neither guy wants to be there, and the only reason they're there is because like 2, 3, 4 individuals who they don't know have set into motion a chain of events that led them into this mortal conflict with each other. It's
like
really.
Britain had to,
go ahead.
Like Britain, they had to be there because they attacked France, and they had a really good relationship with France, and they had an alliance, so they had to be there, and they wanted to be there to support the French.
Yeah,
but America, you guys were only pulled in because they were friends with the Japanese.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because I don't understand why America wouldn't have gone in earlier. I guess we didn't want to get caught up in foreign conflicts, but I mean, these were our allies.
Well, yeah, because pretty much even almost directly after the Revolutionary War, Britain and America were essentially great friends.
Well, it's funny now because back then, Hitler, they took over Poland first. They invade Poland. If anybody invaded Poland today, if anybody goes into Poland today, we attack. Like, we have missile silos. Well, actually, and all sorts of shit.
That's what really kickstarted, because Britain and France were sort of looking over the small countries because they didn't want another world war. They were just like, we don't want to start this shit again. But then they invaded Poland, and Britain and France were like, no. Yeah,
I think what's interesting, though, is, when you look at a map, at whatever point in history you're born into, you look at a map, and there's sort of this assumption that these countries have been this way forever. Poland has always been Poland.
Oh, yeah, no.
Austria has always been Austria. But really, these things are completely in flux and have only been decided by conquest and war. And look at the Israel situation. No. It's just
the only reason Israel even as a country, because Britain controlled that, and they decided to give it to all the displaced Jews from World War II. That's the only reason Israel exists.
I know. And then you go back, and it was the Ottomans before that, and it was the Romans before that, and it goes all the way back. But it's a constant state of flux. And for anybody to be surprised when one group of people has a conflict with another group, it's laughable to me. People just think, okay, everybody stop. Okay, time out. Wherever you are right now, that's the end of it. Okay, everybody, we're going to be peaceful now. That doesn't work. That's never worked.
No, it's a good ideal. We should want that, but realistically, never going to happen. We love killing each other too much.
And the only reason we've had relative peace in modern times is because there are certain militaries that are so big and who cast such a big shadow over global events that everybody's frightened to death to do anything. I mean, there are places. Go ahead.
The only reason that the UN exists in the first place is to keep Britain, America, China, and Russia talking to each other so they don't blow us and come with nuclear bombs.
Yeah,
that is the only reason the UN exists.
But imagine if there was no America, if American military didn't exist, the Arab nations would all go after Israel again. Israel would have been in a daily struggle. The reason that doesn't happen is because they know, do I really want to fucking mess with the United States again? You know,
like it's like Britain and America will jump straight in, and this is going to end badly.
and here's the beauty of it.
That
Britain and America don't even need to jump in because Israel can take care of itself. Their military is such a dominant force now.
When Osama bin Laden sent mustard gas, shot mustard gas, Israel just turned around to him and was like, "Mate, you want to do that again? I'll turn your fucking country into glass. I will nuke you."
Yeah.
And they're just sort of like, "Okay, we're backing off."
Those Jews, man, it's so funny because if you just pop up and read history and you learn about the Holocaust, and you know the main image of the Holocaust is sort of these meek, beaten down, downtrodden Jews just helplessly, pathetically marching into ovens. You know, this is the image that we get from that. And then you flash forward and it's like the IDF, and they got their tits out and they're just killing everybody. They're like, fuck everybody, fuck the world, not again.
Seriously, they're almost like Gurkhas. Those guys are brilliant. This is sort of a bit of anecdotal evidence from my family, but just bear with me. It was World War I. My great-great-grandfather, he was doing patrol, making sure no Germans got into the trenches and that. Mm-hmm. Dead silent. Next thing he knows, there's a hand on his shoulder, and you know the Gurkha swords? Like,
yeah,
they look a bit, they're sort of like machetes, but bent a bit.
Okay. Yep.
And they're razor sharp, one of those to his throat. And he says, "Hello, Aussie," takes the blade away and walks off. He didn't even make a sound until he touched him. And there was one who killed about 30 guys on his own recently and beat a Taliban troop to death with the bipod of his machine gun.
Man, these I mean, it is unbelievable. If only we had cameras back then. Can you imagine if everybody had a cell phone in World War II? What kind of footage we'd be witnessing? It's
British, American, Brits, Americans, and Australians just murdering everyone.
Yeah, but I mean, how viral? Imagine how viral a video would be. Like some paratrooper in Normandy on D-Day. He's like, "So here's I'm coming down. I see some gunfire there. Here's me throwing a grenade. Here's me killing 10 people in a row." Yeah, that's going to get a few likes.
Yeah. But, it's just amazing. Oh, you know, the whole thing, how the main beach, I think the main beach that the Americans had trouble with D-Day.
Is that Omaha or something?
Yeah, Omaha. I'll tell you what one of the reasons that you guys had so much trouble with that was the inflatable tanks failed, so they couldn't take out the German machine gun positions.
What do you mean inflatable tanks?
They had like sort of it's sort of described like they had like these canvas things that would have them float. And then they would just drive ashore. Britain and the British and the Canadians, they got all their tanks ashore perfectly. They set it up all the same. Like they lost some from German resistance, but they took out the pillboxes and were able to move the infantry up relatively safely, as much as you can in a war. And Omaha Beach, every single one of the tanks sunk.
Wow. Well, I know that the Americans and the Allied forces, they created a bunch of fake tanks, and that they were amassing. They were trying to say, look.
Montgomery.
Go ahead.
One of the things that Montgomery did with the forces up in Scotland was they would have the jeeps driving around, and then every so often they would turn a plate and make it look like it was a different divisional car. So it would look like they had 15 divisions up in Scotland ready to invade that way.
Yeah, they're trying to get a little misdirection going, and it worked apparently. You know, I mean, they were caught off guard. You know, I had a story about the D-Day. The movie Saving Private Ryan. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't. Meant to, but
Wow. It's fantastic. Anyway, Steven Spielberg. And so I went to see this in a crowded theater. And the opening 15, 20 minutes of the film is the invasion of Normandy. And it's a lot of it's filmed with handheld. So you feel like you're there. I mean, it's a really visceral, like it's almost, it's very disgusting too. There's, limbs flying around, people getting shot up. And I remember watching it and I
that was
started,
the reality.
yeah, oh, it makes you feel like you're there. And I started feeling I was sweating. I was like, oh my God, this is intense. Then later in the film, there's a guy who gets shot. It's what's his name? The medic. He's a medic and he gets shot and he's bleeding to death. And you are right there with them, and he's getting morphine and shit, but nothing's working, and the blood is seeping out of him. And I'm sitting there. It goes on for what seemed like forever, and I was like, oh God, this is terrible. And I started feeling faint, and so I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna pass out. So I stood up, walked to the back of the theater, and proceeded to collapse. I passed out. It's kind of intense when you're standing and you go from standing to like next thing you know, you're on your back. Like you could hit your head. There's nothing to catch your head. And anyway, I was out for like 5-10 minutes. I wake up. Nobody noticed me. That's America for you. Nobody cared. Like, yeah, some guy just dropped dead. Anyway, I went to the bathroom, put some water in my face, and went back in. But that movie had a dramatic impact on me.
Yeah, and like that's what we get from watching a movie. Imagine what it's like for all of men and women who are out there fighting.
Yeah, and there's a personal aspect to it, because when you're watching another human being be killed, there's a human connection, a human bond where you're like, oh my God, this is real, this is terrible. Even in a movie, it affects humans. But imagine knowing the guy who's getting destroyed in front of you. Like you're friends with this guy, you care about this guy, and then now you see his brain all over your body. This is like Jackie Onassis kind of level stuff. So
that was one of the things with Omaha Beach, because there was no tanks to take out the machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
The machine guns just focused on the transport boats and just shot all their bullets, so everyone was cut down. And the same thing happened at Gallipoli when the British attacked.
Yeah, it's a terrible plan, really. I mean, now it's an ancient form of warfare. I mean, imagine what they do on D-Day today. There would be no D-Day. They bomb the hell out of the coast. It would be a.
And then
it would be an air.
Probably send in some.
Yeah. Send in who?
Send in some commandos or SAS to find out if for some reason we couldn't get like satellite images, send in some of those to get exactly where the positions were, like send in the elite special forces type, and then bomb the crap out of it with long-range artillery.
Yeah, it'd be shelled to hell. It would be bombed to death, and then the ground troops would just walk in, unless they hold up like in Iwo Jima, and you can't bomb this mountain to death. And they've built caves, and they're so deeply bunkered in there that you got to actually go in like person to person and get them out. Yeah, that's the last place I want to be. I wonder if you had the top 10 worst places to be a soldier in during World War II. Who would be on that top 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I've got to leave for a bit, Devin. I got to pick I'm speaking to the guy I was telling you about.
Okay.
I've just got to go and pick my mother and a friend up.
Sweet. All right. Well, pleasure talking to you. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. This was good.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we had a few people watching, and I guess it'll post live to my channel. So, if you want me to leave like a link to your channel, just send it over to me, and I'll put it in the description.
Yep. And might do this again.
Yeah. Sounds good. Good talk, my man. Have a good day then, huh?
Yeah. So. Oh well, it's night here.
Oh yeah, good point. Look at me, I'm so Eurocentric.
I forget that as well.
Yeah. All right, good day, mate.
Yeah,
see you later.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye-bye.